I can still remember the moment my life changed forever. I was 13 years old, sitting in the backseat of my car. My mum was driving and my brother was in the passenger seat. They'd just picked me up from a sleepover. My face was buried in my phone, texting my friends as if the last 24 hours hadn't been enough. Then my mum spoke. "I need to talk to you about something," she said. I barely acknowledged her, still engrossed on my phone. "Your father has been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, a type of dementia, like what your nanny and grampy have." I looked up briefly. Okay, I said, completely unaware of the gravity of what she had just told me. My dad was always so capable, so full of life. And my grandparents, well, they were old. He was only 53. At first, the changes were subtle. He'd ask questions about conversations we'd just had, started misplacing his keys, wallet, and phone, and he'd repeat himself more often. As the disease progressed, so did his confusion. He struggled finding the right words for things, got disorientated, began to sleep during the day, and was restless at night. He forgot the names of people we'd known for years, and eventually lost the ability to dress himself. 5.5 years after that conversation in the car, my dad went into full-time care. He could no longer bathe or toilet himself. Sometimes he knew who I was, but other times he didn't even know who he was. In his final 2 years, he lost the ability to walk, to talk, and to eat. He was a shadow of his former self. He passed away at 60. Shortly after his diagnosis, my dad told me something that stuck with me. He said that he feared dementia would take everything from him, that he wanted to spend his remaining time doing what he loved, but only while he still knew what was going on. He told me he wished he could make it all end, before he lost himself completely. The thought of what lay ahead, how it would affect our family, terrified him. But he wasn't allowed to make that choice. In Australia, there is no legal way for him or people like him to have a dignified death. Watching the indignity of my father's death throughout my adolescence, knowing his wishes and knowing there was nothing I could do, has compelled me to advocate for a vital topic: voluntary assisted dying, or VAD. VAD allows individuals with a terminal illness the ability to make an informed decision to take life-ending medication prescribed by a licensed physician. Known in other countries as euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide, VAD has sparked significant debate, leading to legislative changes worldwide. There is some contention around this topic, often arising from moral and ethical concerns, such as the sanctity of human life. But this isn't about whether we all agree on the topic of VAD. This is about creating inclusive laws that honour the wishes of all terminally ill individuals. In Australia, VAD laws differ from state to state, but generally speaking, they allow adults with a terminal illness, given a prognosis of 6 to 12 months, the ability to take life-ending medication under the guidance of a qualified physician. Dementia is the second leading cause of death in all Australians, and is soon predicted to be the first. There is no cure for dementia, and the afflicted slowly lose their identity with no option to ease their suffering or address their declining quality of life. In Australia, those with dementia are excluded from VAD due to fundamental flaws within our current legislation. Specifically, that individuals must have intact decision-making capacity when given a prognosis of 6 to 12 months. Essentially, by the time someone with dementia is in the final year of their diagnosis, it's more than likely that their cognition would be considered too impaired to satisfy legal requirements of VAD. This exclusion leaves families like mine in heartbreaking limbo. We watch our loved ones suffer, knowing their wishes, but unable to help fulfil those legally and ethically. My father, a man who valued his independence and dignity above all, was stripped of both by this cruel disease and had no say in how his life would end. I don't know at exactly what point my dad would have chosen to access VAD had he been given the option, but I know for certain that he would have wanted that choice. So, what can be done to address the increasing amount of people who are faced with this reality? Australia needs to adopt laws that are more inclusive of individuals with dementia, and this is already taking place in other parts of the world. In the Netherlands, people with advanced dementia can access euthanasia if written consent is provided before decision-making capacity is lost. This concept is similar to what we know in Australia as an advanced care directive or an advanced request. This means that even if an individual is unable to provide verbal consent, their written directive still remains valid. This respects an individual's autonomy by honouring their prior wishes, allowing for the alleviation of suffering, even if the individual is unable to communicate their consent. There are a lot of legal intricacies to be pondered, requiring strict legal criteria, medical oversight, and mandatory reporting to safeguard the process, ensuring an individual's autonomy is upheld while preventing misuse of the law. Individuals with dementia often lose decision-making capacity relatively early on into their diagnosis. Because of this, Australia needs to adopt laws that are tailored specifically for people with dementia to contain end-of-life wishes for when capacity is lost. Allowing those with dementia to access VAD through an advanced directive means that they can make informed decisions about their end of life while still having the capacity to do so, thus preventing unnecessary suffering and preserving autonomy. Regardless of the moral and ethical beliefs that may affect an individual's view on VAD, it is legal in Australia. And opening it up to those with dementia is essential to create laws that are more inclusive for all terminally ill individuals. Dementia is already a terminal diagnosis. Acknowledging the psychological suffering that accompanies it and providing an alternative for these individuals doesn't mean opening the door to broader VAD access. Instead, it acknowledges the complex realities of end-of-life care for people with dementia and offers an equitable pathway forward. Dementia Australia is the national peak body dedicated to supporting people with dementia and their families. In 2020, they released 6 recommendations to the Queensland law reform, advocating for the inclusion of people with dementia in VAD laws through an advanced directive. They emphasised the importance of acknowledging psychological pain associated with cognitive decline alongside physical pain. They also suggested the timing of access should be based on a declining quality of life, rather than a 6 to 12-month prognosis. With these recommendations, we can create a future where individuals with dementia still have control over their end-of-life wishes, ensuring their voices are heard and their dignity is maintained. So even as their cognitive abilities decline, their autonomy remains protected. We must advocate for change. This is a critical shift that needs our voices. We can share our stories and educate others on the realities of dementia. And we can work with policymakers to create compassionate laws that are inclusive of all terminally ill individuals, including those with dementia. I stand here today not just as a daughter who lost her father, but as a voice for all of those who have been silenced by this disease. Let us strive for a future where everyone has the right to decide their own future, make their own decisions about their life and death. Thank you.